Hey everybody, and welcome back to Swift Guitar Lessons. Today I'm joined by my good friend Skip Robinson. He is the featured artist of the month for July. What's up, Skip?
Hey, how you doing, Rob?
Good to see you, man.
Good to see you.
So Skip, you're a part of the $1 Million Quartet. Why don't you let everybody know what that is, a little bit about yourself too.
Yes, I'm a singer, songwriter, performer, and actor. I've been part of the $1 Million Quartet for almost 2 years now. It's a show based upon an actual event that happened December 4th, 1956. Sam Phillips, the owner and producer of Sun Records, got Elvis Presley, Johnny Cash, Carl Perkins, and Jerry Lee Lewis all in the same room together as Carl Perkins was recording a song called Matchbooks. And he had the great idea to put all these personalities together. And I've been part of this Broadway musical that was inspired by an actual event that happened.
And you've been on the show for a while now. How long?
It will be 2 years this September.
Wow. And you started off playing Elvis Presley. Now you're playing Johnny Cash. So which do you prefer? And what's the main difference between playing those two guys?
The main difference is definitely how much you want to sweat that night. But no, there's a big difference. Obviously, Elvis has a lot more energy on stage.
Sure.
Johnny Cash, you really got to hit those low-end notes. You really have to have your bass, baritone range there.
Sure.
But both are fantastic parts to play. I really enjoy playing both. I'm a big fan of both these guys.
And you got the hips for those Elvis moves?
Yeah, I gotta warm them up. I gotta stretch out every show, and I gotta make sure that I don't throw my back out every time I do Hound Dog.
Nice, nice. And you have a very kind of interesting and kind of time-appropriate guitar here. Can you tell us about this one?
Yes, I'm actually playing it's called a Suzuki & Co. It's called the Lawsuit model. It's very similar to an SJ200, the Gibson SJ200, except a fraction of the cost.
They even copied the font for the Martin font.
They copied the font, they copied some of the fretwork here, obviously the shape. The mustache bridge is obviously a little bit different than the normal SJ200. But I put a pickup in it, LR Baggs pickup in here. I played the Dario strings, and I just kind of souped it up. So that, instead of buying a really kind of expensive Gibson, I bought this for a fraction of the cost and put a lot of money into it. It's been great to me. I've been using it all over the country.
This thing's beautiful. Yeah, I was going to say, you've done tours all over the country playing Elvis, playing Johnny Cash. Is there any particular cities that you really enjoyed going to? Or what was the highlights of these shows?
Absolutely. There's certain parts of the country that I absolutely loved. I loved playing in Texas. When we were in Dallas. Dallas is a really cool town. We got the chance to stop by Savannah, Georgia. I was just in Fort Collins, Colorado for 3.5 months. That was great. I actually just got back from Lynchburg, Virginia a couple days ago. It was really great. This show does tremendous all over the country, so audiences really pick up to it, and it's really cool to see how it responds in different parts of the country. And
you're not always playing Elvis or Johnny Cash. You're doing some other gigs too, so what's kind of coming up on the horizon?
In August, the 11th, 12th, and 13th, I'll be performing in a musical called Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. I'll be performing the role as Pharaoh, and that will happen at CBA at Henderson Theater with the Premier Theater Company. That's in New Jersey, Lincroft, New Jersey. And then in September, mid-September, I'll be performing as part of the Fringe Festival for an original show called United, which will happen at the Betsy Ross Courthouse. And
that's in Center City, Old City, kind of Philadelphia.
Yep, right in the historic part.
Nice, nice. And you're going to play some songs for us and do a little bit of instruction, take the load off of my hands for a little bit. So what are you going to be doing for us today?
Today I'll be doing Folsom Prison Blues in F, and I will also be doing Walk the Line, also in F.
Very cool. All right, well, we're going to get to some music here. We're going to do a live kind of recording of the session. Skip's going to do all the rhythm parts and sing as Johnny Cash. And then I'm going to go back and do some overdubbing with the lead parts. I'll show you how to do those as well. And then I think that we can get away with playing Walk the Line together.
Absolutely.
All right, man, let's get to it.
Let's do it. 1, 2, 3.
I hear the train a-comin', it's rolling round the bend. I ain't seen the sunshine since I don't know when. I'm stuck in Folsom Prison, and time keeps dragging on. But that train keeps a-rollin' on down to San Antonio. When I was just a baby, my mama told me, son, always be a good boy, don't ever play with guns. I shot a man in Reno just to watch him die. When I hear that whistle blowing, I hang my head and cry. Come on now. There's rich folks eating in a fancy dining car, probably drinking coffee and smoking big cigars. But I know I had it coming, I know I can't be free. But those people keep moving, and that's what tortures me. Come on now, guitar. If that railroad train was mine, then I'd move it on a little farther down the line, far from Folsom Prison. That's where I want to stay. And I let that lonesome whistle blow my blues away.
So I'm going to play that one more time, a little bit slower. So the first note of that segment, we're going to play the 3rd fret on the A string, which would be a C. We're going to capo our 1st fret here, because the song is in F. And if we capo the 1, we will just play E chords. Keep it nice and simple. So play that 3rd fret of the A string 3 times. Then we're going to play the 2nd fret of the D string twice. So if we put that together, we're going to bring it back to the 3rd fret. So all together. And we're going to bend on the E string that 3rd fret. And then back to an open E. So all together. One time, really slow. And in tempo. So there's 3 chords needed for this song. E, A, and B7th. Obviously we have our capo here on the 1 to keep it nice and simple for us. The main chord of this song will be E. So starting after our intro riff, bend to E. I hear the train a-comin', it's rolling round the bend. I ain't seen the sunshine since I don't know when. And when we get to stuck in Folsom Prison, we're gonna go to an A. Well, I'm stuck in Folsom Prison, and time keeps dragging on. Back to E. But that to B7th, train keeps a-rolling on down to San Antonio. So after our intro, we're going to play 4 measures of E, all the way up into the lyric, I'm stuck in Folsom Prison, in which we're going to play 2 measures of A. Stuck in Folsom Prison, and time keeps dragging on. Then we're going to play 2 measures of E to 2 measures of B and back to E. And the song follows the format just like that the entire time. It doesn't switch. Even for the solos, it follows that same format. So rhythmically, it's important to keep that train feel, to feel like a locomotion, to keep that kind of rhythm driving this tune together. So a lot of what I'll do is I'll make sure that my hand keeps moving like Johnny Cash, because he does this kind of figure 8 pattern when he's playing. Now it looks a lot more complicated than it is, but it's just playing a lot of 8th notes together. And the fun part is playing it like Johnny Cash and really moving it up and down the neck. So I'm actually focusing my rhythm and my strumming pattern on the 2 and 4, which is, if you listen to the live version of this song, the snare drum is following suit. 1, 2, 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3 and 4 and 1, 2. And on the upbeats, I'm starting to move that figure 8 pattern a little bit up. So 2 and 4 will be here, everything in between will be on this side. And that gets that kind of Johnny Cash train rhythm. Is playing it like Johnny Cash and really moving it up and down the neck. So it follows that rhythm the entire song. So once you get going, once that train starts, you just keep it going.
Okay, great work everybody. I hope you're able to get what Skip was just showing you there, the intro part and also the rhythm, that really cool Johnny Cash style figure 8 pattern. Now my job is going to be to break down the lead guitar part for that verse. So over the E major chord, I'm going to demonstrate what I would play over that chord, first in a very simple manner, then I'll show you how you can fancy it up, adding in some extra 8th notes or 16th notes. So the basic version sounds like this. Transition into the A chord. So, very simple. Coming out of the intro, I get right to it. I hold my E major chord and then I'm just going to pluck E, A. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then on the last measure, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and. So that was 0, 0, 2, I'm speaking relative to the capo now, and then 4. Then that'll get us to the A major chord, where we can do a very similar pattern. But first let's see what we can do to fancy up that E chord. So what you have so far is very tasteful and very simple, just plucking those 2 strings for the better part of 4 measures. You can palm mute it if you feel like you're taking over the mix. And that'll sound great with a little bit of slap back echo. Now one thing that you could do to fancy it up a little bit, and I did this a little bit in my demonstration, is throw in a downstroke of the E chord in between. And that sounds really, really good with that palm mute effect. So if you add it in across those 4 measures and also include the walk up, it'll sound like this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and then that walk up will be exactly the same. Okay, now moving on to the A major chord, where you can employ a very similar technique. Here, the most simple thing that you could do is just play the open A string and the open E string. All right, count in each of those notes as quarter notes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then go back to the E chord. Now sometimes on that second measure, I'll throw in a nice kind of low-end bend lick right before I go back to the E chord. So that was just me bending the second fret of the low E string and getting myself back to the E chord. And very often that second bend, I like to do a return. Alright, the perfect way to transition back to E. Okay, now let's fancy up the A chord. We can throw in those downstrokes. We could even throw in a 16th note feel, add in an upstroke after the downstroke. Something like that. So, over the A chord, root, down, up, root, down. A, down, up, E, down. I can do the same thing over the E chord. Just making sure that the actual strums are on the high strings, and then all of those bass notes are nice and clean. Okay, moving along through the progression, we had those 4 measures of the E chord, the 2 measures of the A, then we went back to the E chord, we'll have that for 2 measures. And at the end of that second measure of E, we can actually transition to the B chord with a walk up. So that would sound like this. With the E chord fretted, I have. Okay, so I had the E string, strum, the A string, strum, the E string strum, then 0, 1, and I get myself to the B7 chord. So here's how we're going to strum the B7 chord. It's going to be exactly like the A chord. Okay, so. And that nice little bending lick to finish it up. The thing that you got to know for this B7 chord is you got to jump the middle finger up, going back and forth between the second fret of the A string, again relative to the capo, and the second fret of the low E string. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, bend, bend. Then you're back to the E major chord for 1 measure. Okay, last stop now for the more advanced players out there. We're getting to the guitar solo. This is an amazing solo, very simple licks. It's a great solo actually for someone to learn if they're kind of reaching that intermediate level. It's gonna sound like this real slow. I'm gonna do line 1 if you're following along with the tablature at patreon.com/swiftlessons. Okay, so we're going to be speaking relative to the capo still, so even though I'm actually on the 9th fret, I'm going to call it the 8th fret. Okay, that way you'll be able to, if you want to play it in the key of E, you can just take the capo off. So, the first little lick sounds like this, first measure. So that was 8, 9, 7, 10, 7, 10, 7. Now you want to bend those 10th frets just a hair. And there's also a hammer on in the beginning there, going 8 to 9. Alright, the second measure is going to be basically the same thing, but a little bit shorter. Alright, then we're going to repeat measure 1. Then on the 4th measure, line 1 on your tablature. So that was that 8, 9, 7, 10, 7, 10. Then a little walk down, 7, 4, and then 5 on the B. Okay, so that walk down there actually gets you to the 4 chord, A. This is line number 2 of your tablature. I'm going to demonstrate this for you. It's going to sound like this. Real slow. Alright, just like that. Okay, breaking that down, I took an A major chord, barred it up, and I take my pinky and put it on the 5th fret of the high E string. There I'm going to play the first measure. Root, down, up, down. Then the second section, root, strum, 5, 0, 0. Okay, that sounds a little out when you play it slow, but fast. And of course I'm controlling the strings using my palm. Alright, then we're going to do a similar technique, but now we're going up and grabbing like kind of the F form of the A major chord. So here, we're going to play the 6th fret, G string, 5th frets of the B and high E string. Okay, I'm holding all those notes down, and I'm going to hit the G string first. Then I'm going to strum, then I'm going to play the high E string 5th fret, and then 0, 0 again. One more time. Alright, then I need to find myself a D major chord shape, and that is going to be on the 9th fret position. Okay, now I'm speaking relative to the capo, so this is actually your 10th fret here. So here I'm going to play the G string, then I'm going to strum the D shape, and then play E string open, G string open. And that'll take me back to an E major chord for the 3rd line of our solo. Okay, let's put all that together real slow now. The A major chord is fretted with the pinky on the 5th fret. Getting myself to the E chord. Okay, great work everybody. We made it through the first 2 lines of our tablature, the E and the A chords. Now we're looking at line number 3 where the E chord comes back in. We're going to break this up into 4 different parts that are pretty much all the same. Just sounds like this. So a little bit more of that root, down, up, down. On the last downstroke of the E major chord, you're going to take the pointer finger off. On the last one, I'm going to leave it just the way it is, because after that I'm going to the B dominant 7 chord. Okay, so we got those first 3 lines of our tablature complete. Now we're on to line number 4, and this is where the B7 chord comes in. Alright, we're going to have 3 measures here, and that'll get us back to the tonic, the 1 chord E. It's going to sound like this. Okay, so I took the B7 chord, root, down, up, down. I need to do that twice. Then I'm going to play root, down, grab the 1st fret of the A string relative to the capo, 1, and then strum the open strings, which again sounds very dissonant, very rough on the ears when it's slow, but when it's fast, it's much easier to digest. Then we're going to grab the 2nd fret of the low E string, bend it up to 3, return back to 2, and hit the open E string as the 1 chord comes back in. Okay, playing that at a slow tempo, then at full speed. At full speed. Okay, great work everybody. We've studied that entire solo, all 4 lines of your tablature. Now I'm going to play it for you at a slow and steady tempo and ask that you play along. Okay, playing that solo nice and slow, starting from the B7 chord, then going to that one measure of E. That way you can get a feel for how it comes in. Real slow tempo. 1, 2, 3, 4. Alright, and then getting right back to that E pattern. Alright everyone, thanks so much for checking out this featured artist showcase and lesson on Folsom Prison Blues. Thanks so much to Skip Robinson for coming, jamming with me, and also sharing a little bit of his knowledge. I want to thank my patrons as well for making this lesson possible. Hope you're enjoying the tabs for this lesson and all my other popular YouTube tutorials. I got many more videos coming up, so keep checking back. Please subscribe, please share. This is Rob at Swift Guitar Lessons in Philadelphia, saying happy picking.